I have to give a shout out to Louise Perry, who wrote the book, The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, which really helped me frame this piece. And I think is such a brave book. And she has a great chapter about cads or dads. And I know lots of cads. I've been friends with lots of them. And obviously I've dated lots of cads, and they're older now. And I see, they were the guys who were like the high value men on these dating sites or wherever. And they're kind of lonely now. There's something sad about it at this point. And they didn't have kids. And I think she makes the case for incentivizing dads being a dad. And I think also incentivizing motherhood. It's another thing that's become something that I remember interviewing. I've been thinking about this for a long time. When I was doing so many things have helped me form the evolution of a lot of this. Being a writer of Playboy was one of them. I was asked to go cover a Free the Nipple rally, which I was kind of like, yeah, this is bullshit. Why can't women have their nipples out? They do it in France. They don't. This is a puritanical American thing. Well, I get to the event, and it's a young teenage girl who's like just 18 who's running this event. I thought it was going to be the woman who was behind it, and she was present. But the woman who organized this whole thing was like this young girl on the Santa Monica beach with all of her friends who are like just barely 18, barely legal. And they're on the beach freeing their nipple. And I went in with kind of one impression of what I thought, but immediately I was like, And then there was this guy wandering around, a fucking creeper, clearly like a pedo, taking pictures. And I was like, excuse me, is anyone going to do anything about this? And I was like, oh, hell no, put your nipples away. Like, I immediately went mama bear. I was telling the girl who was associated with this, I'm like, you need to do something or I'm gonna. This is like, and to her credit, she went up to him and told him to like go away with his freaking camera. It was so fascinating. I went back to my editor and I said, okay, well, I have a completely different feeling about this now that I've gone to this event. And he's like, yeah, that's called being a journalist, like a good journalist. You go into an event and you might have your mind changed about things. And I ended up becoming friends with the young girl, and I interviewed 3 generations of feminists, her mother and grandmother. And the grandmother was talking about how she felt like there was something to be said for modesty, but something the mother said really stuck out. And she was of that generation that came of age around the sexual revolution, and all the women were going to work. And she had her teacher, a professor that she admired, that was the woman who taught her all about feminism. And they all got together for a dinner, and all the women were talking about, she chose to be a stay-at-home mom. And this professor that she idolized basically was asking all the women what they were doing. And when they got to her, and she said she chose to be a stay-at-home mom, she just skipped right over her and never talked to her about it. And they said she was treated like a second-class citizen. And I feel like that has only accelerated since, this was probably in the 60s or probably 70s. And that's really, that feeling has only accelerated of like motherhood almost being looked down upon, and something that you choose if you're like a trad wife, or that's something for those religious conservative women or people. So I think that we've lost the incentivizing motherhood and fatherhood, and being a mom and dad is kind of something that would start to encourage the rules that you are talking about.
Yes, we have evolutionarily lost the plot. I mean, quite obviously, right? If motherhood and fatherhood are now uncool, then what exactly are we doing on this planet, all right?
And we live in a time where you can't even say mom or dad anymore. I mean, it's even more bananas than just like, it's a whole other conversation, but take away the fact that we're looking at moms and dads in a different way. Now you can't even say mom or dad because like male and female don't exist. It's I don't know how to. I wrote this essay, and it ends up me in like these rabbit hole conversations where you're trying to untangle some kind of knot that has no beginning or end.
Oh, by design, though. I mean, and that's the thing, Bridget, is if you agree that it is your responsibility to explain what males and females are, right? You've lost. At the point that you agree that that's your job, it's over.
Yeah.
We have to start saying, look, certain things are true. If mother and fatherhood are now uncool, we fucked up. We have to go backwards and figure out where they started being uncool, and we got to take the other path, right? Male and female exist. Motherhood and fatherhood are essential. They have to be done well. We've made that job very difficult. That's a problem. I would also point out at the level you were talking about CADs. I will say, I don't think I have a single male friend who is a CAD. I don't think so. And it's not like I actively chose against them. But I think the problem is that there is something about that approach to life that is so distorting of normal thinking and normal values that those people just didn't end up having much to offer, which I think is a clue to another part of this. So again, I haven't yet said why my view is not a traditional view. It's a radically distinct and new view. It's not a traditional view, but it recognizes a lot of the traditional elements. But the point is, imagine the past, right? Where we didn't have reliable birth control, and therefore the act of having sex with someone carried a substantial risk of producing an offspring that would then be a burden. That's a world in which women, for obvious reasons, are extremely choosy about who they go to bed with, right? For just really obvious reasons, because the point is they have everything to lose in that interaction. And so that's also where courtship and romance come from. These things are basically, a CAD can't pass a 6-month or a year-long test of their commitment, right? They're looking for a bargain, and that's not a bargain. So all of these things that we knew were important and valuable in the past are downstream of that very high stakes world. But in that world, women demanded a tremendous amount of men, right? In order to be worthy of a sexual relationship with a desirable woman, men moved mountains.
Right.
Men put other men on the moon, right?
Right.
We achieved amazing things. And I don't want to trivialize what that was, but in part, being good men so that women would look favorably upon you and consider spending their life with you. That created a tremendous amount of the best kind of motivation to achieve real things that mattered, to be very decent, to be likable, all of these things. And by unhooking that system, we basically removed the underlying logic that caused people to achieve and to strive and to hold themselves to high standards. And so I don't think we will ever know the full harm of what seemed like a sophistication, which is, oh, we got over it. Sex is just another thing we do, right? That change basically altered the landscape of how humans function around each other, and not for the better. So in reestablishing reasonable rules, we're really talking about bootstrapping our way to a new world in which things again make sense. And it will not be the old world, because birth control isn't going anywhere, nor should it. It has been a tremendous benefit, but it came with costs we didn't see.